It's that time once again as another My Hero Academia episode has come and gone. And wow, this was an emotional one. My reviews are going to work in a way where I talk about the new episode and its contents while glancing over what I think was cool, talk about my favorite character and moment in the episode, and then if I feel like if there's anything worth mentioning in regards to it, I'll also talk about my least favorite character and moment. With those things out of the way, it is time to see the limit of LaMillion's power. This week's episode opens up with, you've guessed it, a flashback. Overhaul and Chronostasis are in awe over the completed product that they've been working on, a drug that will completely erase someone's quirk permanently as opposed to just taking it away for a couple of days. It all started with preserving the quirk factors that were separated from Aries' body, and after all this time, they finally got a finished product. Chronostasis points out that it will take too much money and time, however, to really continue to make this drug. It took an entire month just to make 5 bullets worth of the drug, but Overhaul quickly points out that if it is due to their poor working conditions, he concludes that they'll be able to get themselves some better equipment thanks due in part to All For One being out of the picture in the villain world. We flash forward a little bit more to when Toga and Twice first show up at Overhaul's compound, saying that they were forced by Shigaraki to come and work with the Yakuza. Overhaul lets the duo know that he understands if things are tense between them after their initial meeting, but now they're working together and he needs their help in carrying out his current plan. Overhaul asks the two of them for their quirks so he can know where they'd be most useful, but they initially refuse. However, one of Overhaul's henchmen uses their own quirk that seems to force the truth out of the two, just by asking them what their quirks are. Twice goes over his, as does Toga, and both end up pretty shocked that they just give away that information in such a way. Finally, they are asked if Shigaraki gave them orders to betray the Hasakai, though they both say he did not. Overhaul decides to accept them, but says he can't just let them leave the compound and do whatever they want since they're wanted criminals. He says that once he can trust them more, he'll let them go do whatever they want. Mimic, who very clearly doesn't like the two, reiterates the fact that they'd better stay in line and listen to Overhaul since they're the Yakuza and shouldn't be underestimated. We finally head back to the current moment, and Mimic has had enough of Twice and Toga making fun of the Yakuza and himself. He drops them down a hole, and the two villains decide that since they don't have the power to fight through a situation like this, they'll just rely on the heroes to do it for them. Back at the heroes who are currently being surrounded by moving pieces of building, Deku hears the screams of an angry Mimic. It's deduced that Mimic is looking down on everyone from a hole in the ceiling high up, and Deku is finally able to pick up on this, leaping through the hole and breaking it open to reveal Mimic, who immediately has his quirk stopped by Eraserhead. He falls from the ceiling and is caught by Deku and apprehended, finally putting an end to his disoriented shenanigans. Finally, we get to the meat of this episode, as Togata is caught up with Overhaul after a few episodes of chasing him down. It all comes down to this, with Eri right in the young hero's line of sight. Overhaul recognizes Togata from a short while back when they first met, and essentially lambasts him for now deciding he wants to be a hero since he understands the situation. He says Eri doesn't want to be rescued and that she doesn't see him as a hero. Togata springs into action even after Overhaul is telling him to give up, but as he goes to activate his quirk, he suddenly loses his balance and begins to trip up. Above him, a man is sucking down some sort of alcohol and speaking to him, and a slurred speech pattern about how he's lost his sense of balance. Suddenly, someone starts shooting at Togata with a gun, but thankfully, he's able to leap out of the way in time to avoid being hit. It's the guy from earlier who got Toga and Twice to confess their quirks, and this time, he makes Togata do the same. The villain's name is Shin, and his quirk is confession. As long as he asks someone a question, he will force them to tell them the truth. He can even get them to admit to things they don't actually know about too, which doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess anything can be possible in a series like this. The other villain is Sakaki, and his quirk is sloshed. He makes those around him lose their sense of balance. It's pretty straightforward, and seeing as this character seems to be an alcoholic, very fitting. A few more shots are sent Togata's way, but he's able to dodge most of them just barely. He questions how the followers could even call Overhaul's desires ambitions when he is using his own daughter to make them come true. Shin points out that in order for things to happen smoothly, emotions become unnecessary and useless. He immediately starts to grill Togata about allowing Eri to leave with Overhaul in the first place, forcing him to admit that he purposely didn't help her because in the moment it was the smarter idea. He continues to try and rattle Togata's heart in an attempt to kill his ability to fight, though finally Togata is able to slide into a wall and pop out quickly, taking out both Shin and Sakaki with a precise attack. Togata admits that the reason he chased after Eri was because she showed such kindness in returning to her own hell to spare himself and Deku, and that he needs to save her to repay such kindness. Togata appears behind Overhaul and throws a punch, just barely grazing him as he does so. He's able to take hold of Eri, but she seems more afraid of the fact that he showed up to save her than anything else. Togata promises that he will not make Eri sad anymore, and will indeed become her hero. Overhaul is broken out in slight hives as he tends to do when he is touched for some reason, and he demands Eri just come back to him. He reminds her that she was born to break people, and that because of her selfishness, he has to hurt people. Togata lashes out at Overhaul for daring to say that to his own child, but then the unfortunate truth comes to light. Overhaul admits that he has no children. The fight then gets underway, Overhaul destroying the ground around him and rebuilding it into spikes in an attempt to attack Togata, who is able to permeate through the spikes and avoid damage. Togata can't believe the attacks are so brazen, as Overhaul could easily hurt Eri by accident, but since he could just put her back together anyway, it doesn't seem that Overhaul cares. It appears as though he has done something like this to her before, and that sets up Togata mentally. Overhaul has trapped them both and reminds our hero that the only person who can actually heal Eri, if she's going to get hurt during this battle, is him, so Togata is out of options. Chronostasis awakens holding a gun, and Overhaul tells him to aim for the arm carrying Eri. Chrono is surprised that Togata is able to attack so precisely, remarking that he must have trained very hard to get to this point. Togata hides himself and Eri under his cape, thinking to himself that he doesn't want to be on the other end of Chrono's quirk, so he needs to be hidden from him, if even for the moment. The two shots miss thanks to the cape, and moments later, Togata pops out from the ground and nearly misses taking out Chrono, thanks to quick thinking from Overhaul. Overhaul tries to attack Eri while Togata is separated from her, but the young hero doesn't give him the chance as he permeates through a waiting hand and cracks Overhaul right in the face with a devastating punch. He follows up with an attack on Chrono, who is trying to get back to his gun, and seems to take the upper hand. Togata proclaims that he will never let anyone lay a hand on Eri again, and that Chisaka has lost, but Overhaul warns him not to use that name so casually, as he has thrown it away. Yet another flashback kicks into presumably Overhaul as a boy, being found by the true leader of the Hasakai, and brought into the life of the Yakuza. Apparently, he's always had dastardly plans, but the leader was never interested in him putting them to use as they lacked chivalry. He tells Overhaul that no one will follow a demon with no heart, and that leads back into the fight where suddenly Shin has returned to the battlefield, crying out that he will help Overhaul. One of the bullets containing the quirk-killing serum is thrown to him, and Shin loads his gun. He knows that there is no way he could successfully shoot Togata, so he does the unthinkable, he shoots the bullet at Eri. Togata notices this, and as time practically slows to a crawl, he leaps towards her. A million thoughts rush through Togata's mind, thinking of how Eri has bore the pain of being used as a weapon for so long, having essentially given up on being rescued. Togata reaffirms to himself that he will never make Eri sad again, and as the bullet draws in and he manages to get in front of her, he has a massive smile on his face, as if to let her know that everything is going to be alright. The bullet connects with Togata's back, and we're once more thrown into his memories. When he was younger, Togata fell through a bridge and into a body of water, but was thankfully saved by a hero. As a child from then on, he promised he would become a hero and save people. Togata's father, who has the same quirk, warns Togata that he could take one wrong step and be split in two because of the type of quirk they have. Since this sort of quirk is so hard to use, his father had given up on trying to be a hero long ago. Togata will not be swayed in his desire to save people though, saying he will try his best to make things work. His father worked incredibly hard with him to train and give support to his son's dream. Within seconds, Togata drops before Eri and the serum begins to affect his entire body. With a scared young girl before him and while being surrounded by evil, the hero known as LeMillion has fallen permanently, his quirk that he worked so hard to cultivate now gone. Overhaul rises to his feet and calls heroism a disease, that people were given quirks and that those quirks allowed them to dream. It's an illness of the mind, and with the power of the very girl Togata had come to save, Overhaul has cured him of this illness. Just as he is going to attack Togata once more, Chrono's body comes flying at him, and as he knocks him away, Togata appears from behind and punches Overhaul square in the arm with major force. Even without his quirk, Togata continues to put up a fight, saying that there is no way that he would allow all the work he has put in to go to waste. A battle told and still frames rages on. And now quirkless, and with only his spirit to will him on, LeMillion stands before Overhaul, stabbed in both his legs and midsection with spikes, but still standing nonetheless with the episode coming to an end. We get some post-credits of Togata pulling himself from the spikes while bleeding out, and with Overhaul continuing to lambast him for even trying to save Eri, and continuing to try to at this point. Togata screams at Overhaul's real name once more, and they both seem ready to attack one another as the wall breaks open next to them, and out pops out Deku, Eraserhead, and Night Eye. The preview shows us that we're in for a major showdown in episode 12, as Deku and Eraserhead go to battle with Overhaul. This looks like it'll be the climax of this arc, and a lot will happen, and I'm super excited for it. So my favorite character in this episode was definitely Togata. There is no doubt about that. What he had to go through was so emotional, and I feel that the anime did a good job as someone who doesn't read the manga. I can't really compare the two because of that, but if I had to look at the anime on its own and how it made me feel and how it showed off such an emotional moment, I think it excelled in doing so. I absolutely hated seeing Togata lose his quirk, and this is by far the saddest thing to happen in this show thus far. We haven't gotten to know Togata for as long as we have the other characters, but that didn't stop this from being hard to see happen. He worked incredibly hard to become so powerful that people wanted to see him be the next All Might, and now he is quirkless, though still with the desire to be a true hero. I hope we will continue to see LeMillion as the show goes on. Well, that's going to do it for my review of My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 11, LeMillion. If you guys enjoyed this one, let me know in the comments below and subscribe to MysticSage with notifications on so you don't miss my review of the 4th season's next great episode. I've got a lot of great videos about My Hero Academia already on the channel and about plenty of other anime as well, with more to come. I hope you guys have been enjoying these reviews and the show so far as well, and I'll be back at it next week with a review of the next exciting My Hero episode.